Hello everyone, welcome to my Resident Evil Code Veronica X no damage walkthrough, and this is going to be from the prison area to the palace area. And I figured this was the best time to do this game, since Lightning Vidals did Resident Evil 1 on his channel. The older version, I mean. And I've been wanting to do a walkthrough of this game for a while. Although I will say though, this beginning area of Code Veronica X is one of the hardest beginnings of any Resident Evil game by far, because in the beginning, you don't have any guns, you have the knife, and you're gonna get guns later on, but then you're gonna get the guns taken away, and then it will be a problem when you're trying to run past 3 particular zombies. But that beginning part right there, CryEngine SDA did find a way to run past these zombies, but I've tried to replicate this strategy so many times, and I just can never get it to work consistently. That just works consistently, and that's just the only thing I can think of as to how you're supposed to do that beginning part. And you're gonna really notice the power of the knife in Code Veronica X. The knife on this game, when you're using it against zombies and specific enemy types, it is so good. If you perfectly time your knife slash to hit the zombie during an active frame period of their grab, you will knock them over. And you have to hit him in the leg. I mean, you can hit the stomach area as well, but hitting the legs is better because you get more range on your low attacks. And it doesn't have to necessarily be at the right point in a zombie's grab. You can actually use another method, which is where you quick turn to bait out a zombie's grab, and while they're still in the active frame period, you can just knife them and they fall over. It's just the one problem with the quick turn method is that you have to time it. If you don't time it correctly, the zombie will grab you while you're doing the quick turn, and you will take damage. And there is a whole system in Resident Evil Code Veronica where you have the ability to escape zombie grabs if you rotate the analog and mash the buttons like crazy, but it's not very consistent, so I do not recommend getting put into a position where you're going to be doing that. And right here, I'm coming into this building so I can pick up the MP01. This machine pistol is going to really help in saving your pistol ammo, and you get a lot of ammo on Code Veronica X. I don't know why people say you get more ammo on Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, but that's just not true at all. But right there, did you see how the zombie tried to go after my leg just then? It is very important that you note this. Whenever you're trying to counter a zombie's grab, you need to only use the knife. If you use any bullet-based weapon, and you aim for the leg, you will cause the zombie to trip, and he will fall on your leg, and there is the likely chance that he will grab you. If you shoot him during his fall down animation, you will stop him and kill him before he has a chance to grab your leg. And that's what happened just then. And it made it seem like I got grabbed just then, but I didn't. I would be in the biting animation if that was the case. And I wasn't trying to counter the zombie's grab just then. I was trying to finish him off when he was on the ground, but he got up before I had a chance to fully finish him off, and so when he tried to go into his grab animation, I shot him in the leg, and he tried to grab my leg, which was not the case, thankfully, since I finished him off. But just bear that in mind when you're trying to finish off zombies when they're on the ground. But now that I have the MP01s, I'm going to use them to clear out all the zombies in this area, and also a couple of zombies later on in the palace area. And the MP01s have 2 different modes. There's a split mode, and then there's also a single mode. The split mode allows you to fire at 2 enemies at once. The single mode allows you to only prioritize 1 enemy, and you do this by aiming and pressing L1. And I'm just trying to counter this zombie right here, since he's the last one. And you only ever want to do this counter method if the camera's in a favorable position, where you can actually see how close the zombie is. So, because of the fact that the camera was at a right angle to where I was, I could use the camera to see where the zombie was. If you're getting any moments where the camera is directly behind you, or it's directly in front of you, and there's a zombie directly in front of you or behind you, it's a very risky method, but what I recommend you do is quick turn so that the zombie does his grab, but he misses, and then during his active frame period, you just hit him. But like I already mentioned, it's a very risky method, so you do not want to get into any position where that's going to be the case. But can I just say that the weapons on this game are really good? I really like the weapons on this game compared to Resident Evil 2 Remake. The Resident Evil 2 Remake weapons are not very good. They don't elicit the kind of feedback that I'm expecting from a Resident Evil game, and they just aren't very useful. They just felt like a waste of space. But with this game is not designed for knife only. And I mean it, this game is not designed for knife only. Trying to do knife only, no damage, is literally impossible because of the RNG factors associated with some of the bosses on this game, and also with other encounters. And the enemies are also very, very lethal, and they can get through your knife hits very, very easily if they want to. And I'm just glad that that is the case. You know, the fact that this game is not designed for knife only may seem like a big problem with you people out there, but it's not a big problem with me because it means that the game is going to be a challenge, and I definitely consider this to be the hardest fixed camera Resident Evil game. It's a lot harder than Resident Evil 0. Resident Evil 0 was kind of tame, and Resident Evil 0 was kind of badly designed in certain areas, like with the infected bat and also with the final boss fight and with also some clunky mechanics associated with Resident Evil 0. I mean, it was still a fun game, but Resident Evil 0 is not the Resident Evil game you want to use when it comes to showcasing the framework for a hard Resident Evil game. This, I feel, is more worthy of that. And a lot of people might disagree with me on this claim, but my reasoning for how to define a truly hard game is it well designed? Does it favor some pretty lethal design choices that are properly balanced? Does it have like lethal but fair enemy designs? Does it give you a lot of incentive to use everything at your disposal in order to stay alive and not take any damage? You know, I think this game satisfies all of those requirements, even though normal difficulty is the only difficulty available to Code Veronica and also Code Veronica X. But this game favors a lot of really interesting design choices. Like, for instance, with the zombies. Something I forgot to mention about the zombies. So, this was first introduced in Resident Evil 3, but in Resident Evil 3, the zombies had the ability to go turbo, and when they go turbo, they move faster. So, you have to be very cautious when dealing with them, and that is a feature in this game. Only, in this game, the turbo zombies work a little differently. In Resident Evil 3, the turboing was limited to 2 states. The zombies had 2 specific states. They were either in a walking state or they were in a turbo state. And the moment they decided to favor one specific state, that was the only state they would do. But on this game, the zombies have the ability to transition from a walking state into a turbo state, and they can do it randomly. So it keeps you guessing sometimes whenever you're having to do the counter against the zombies. And I like that. I like that unpredictable nature to the zombies. It benefits the lethal but fair enemy design. I'm just glad that they at least put in a system to balance that out. You know, in Resident Evil 2 Remake, the zombies on hardcore difficulty have the ability to spam grab twice just to catch up to you, and there's no kind of system in play to stop them from doing that. You can't just shoot them in the leg and then cause them to fall over. It doesn't work like that on that game. Oh, right here. I'm gonna have to pause on this tangent right now because this is a really challenging part. This is the hardest part of the prison area. You're gonna have no weapons at your disposal because of the metal detectors, and you have to run past a bunch of zombies. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna reset the whole entire room by going through this door and coming back into this room, so that the zombies are always in the same position. And I'm going to try to use the quick turn method against this guy, and I'll put it in slow motion right here. So, you quick turn, you gotta move away from him so that he doesn't grab you while you're quick turning, and then you gotta immediately start another quick turn, and then right here, did you see that just then? The grab detection on this game is very weird. I don't quite understand how the grab detection works for the zombies, but for some reason, the zombies on this game have a lot of trouble grabbing you whenever you're facing them at an angle. So, it's like they have a hard time differentiating between whether they want to grab you at the front or from behind. And this wasn't a thing in the other Resident Evil games. For some reason, it's only exclusive to Code Veronica and Code Veronica X. It's almost like when they tried to change the way the zombies worked in this game, they ended up making some error in the system. But it's that error in the system that allows speedrunners to run past the zombies on this game, and running past zombies on this game is very difficult. You have to devote a lot of time to understanding how the grab detection works on the zombies, so that you can get past them very consistently. And Carcinogen SDA demonstrated a lot of speedrun strats for his no-damage run of Resident Evil Code Veronica, but you notice how I didn't say it was a walkthrough, it was a run. There's a big difference between a run and a walkthrough, and a walkthrough is meant to showcase consistent strategies that aren't so heavily dependent upon RNG, so that you can help out anyone who checks out your video. A run is just simply for entertainment purposes. You're not trying to do it for helping other people out, you're just doing it for the fun of it. And since this is a walkthrough, I'm not going to be so reliant upon RNG heavy strategies. I'm going to be as consistent as possible so that the strategies that I showcase in my videos are going to be easy to replicate. And I always try to make sure that I'm not copying other people's strategies. I never ever search other videos when I'm making walkthroughs. I want to showcase my own strategies for each of the sections in the game. And that is what you're going to get with this walkthrough. And we've made it to the palace area right now after doing the prison area, and we are just going to be using the MPO-1 to get rid of a lot of enemies. I mean, I could choose to use my knife here, just to showcase that you can kill a lot of these enemies knife only, but it doesn't really give you a lot of incentive to do that, especially when, on this game, you can't reset the whole entire game. You have to actually close the entire application on your PS4, and then reset the whole game, which is really dumb. And I think the only reason they've done it like that is because, when it comes to rank, they factored in death as a variable to consider for rank. And they probably don't want you to restart so easily, so they make it so that you cannot restart and quit to the title menu at all, which I think is really dumb. I've had to close applications so many times just trying to get my no damage video out, and it's probably going to be a very similar case with my other no damage videos of Resident Evil Code Veronica X. I just wish they would change it. Oh, by the way, right here, make sure you have your lighter out. When you have the lighter out, bats will not attack you, and I'm coming into this room here to pick up the Duralumin case. I haven't played this game in a long time, so I don't know exactly what this Duralumin case has, but I assume it has the bowgun powder. I could be wrong. I know the second Duralumin case you get from the prison area contains upgrade parts for the pistol that Claire has, and when you put the upgrade parts for the pistol that Claire has, it becomes the most powerful pistol in the game, and it's a pistol you definitely want to give Chris for the second half of this game. Chris's pistol that he has in the beginning of his scenario is horrible. It's so bad. So my best recommendation is get rid of the pistol immediately and just try to make sure that when you are finished playing as Claire, that you put the upgraded pistol into the item box so that Chris gains access to it at the beginning of his scenario. But right here, I'm picking up the ID card. I couldn't quite remember the puzzle solution for the computer, which is why I'm checking this, and the code is NTC0394. And hopefully I'll be able to commit that to memory now that I'm actually making this walkthrough. But I'm going to make sure that I do the rest of this palace area before I decide to make a save, because it's all relatively simple, because there's only a couple of enemies that we gotta deal with before I decide to make the save and just conclude part 1 of this walkthrough. And I'm just going to use the machine pistol on them, as I've already stated, back in the prison area. But I can also use the pistol as well, or I can use the knife if I so choose. You have a lot of options at your disposal. The weapons on this game just don't feel like waste of space whatsoever compared to Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like, they actually feel like they serve a purpose, and they are just useful in different ways. And their utility against different enemy types is really, really apparent. And you get a lot of ammo in this game. More ammo than you would possibly get in Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. Even though in those games enemies do drop ammo. And that might sound like a surprise to you, that an older type of Resident Evil game would give you more ammo than the newer versions of Resident Evil. But if you use your weapons intelligently, you're going to be able to amass at least 200 pistol rounds before you even get to the halfway point of this game. And that's the case with every single Resident Evil game. In every single Resident Evil game, you always have enough ammo. I mean, look at Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, for instance. Those games, you can use the knife for the vast majority of the time and just amass so much ammo for your other weapons. And it's almost pointless to have all that ammo in the long run because the games are just designed for knife only. I mean, I can't really say designed, though. I mean, the only reason those runs are even possible on Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 is because of how simple the design choices are with Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, that a lot of people have just found a lot of exploits to be able to do these knife-only runs. Like, look at Resident Evil 3, for instance. When you're trying to do knife-only against Nemesis, what people do to deal with Nemesis is they try to get him caught on a corner, or they try to get him caught on geometry so that they can just knife him freely, and it's those kind of exploits that aren't really intentional that enable such knife-only runs to be possible, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant to call those games designed for knife-only. And it's not just the unintended aspects that allow the knife-only runs to be possible, there are also some intended aspects that allow people to find all these different exploits to deal with some of the bosses or with some of the enemies. Like, with the bosses on Resident Evil 2, certain bosses like G2 Birkin, G3 Birkin, and also Final Tyrant, they mainly do one attack. And because of the fact that they only do one attack, it makes it very easy to kill them knife only. Like with G2 Birkin, you just back up and you bait out his horizontal attack. With G3 Birkin, you just run underneath his slash move, and then with Final Tyrant, you just gotta run in a particular direction when he decides to skate towards you. And it's these kind of simple design choices that make you not want to use the weapons to such a greater degree compared to the knife. So, based on that, you can easily amass a lot of ammo, but not have any need for the ammo whatsoever. Whereas with this game, it's the complete opposite. You need a lot of this ammo because there are certain bosses on this game that take a ridiculous amount of punishment, like the final boss, and then there are other enemy types that are placed in some really awkward positions that make it very hard to run past them. And I think this game does a really good job of making the weapons feel like they have a purpose. But this is the end of part 1 of this walkthrough. There's going to be a lot to talk about with this particular Resident Evil game and also with the other Resident Evil games, so stay tuned for the future parts. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.